When I think about the story of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., it's nothing short of inspiring to me. I mean, one man found a way to stand up and fight for the rights of all African American people. To me, that deserves more than just 1 month out of the year to recognize. Because not only did he follow a dream that he had, but he was also able to put away all the fear and all the doubt that he had been dealing with as he grew up in a world full of segregation, oppression, and he was basically told at a young age that he was meant to stay in his lane, that he was never meant to rise up, that the rights of his people were not equal to everybody else. Yet he did not buy into it. He finally decided to make a change. He finally decided to say no more and rise up. And when I think about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the story of how he was able to do that, I think about us as well, us as human beings. We all have it in us to be more. We all have it in us to rise up, to be more than what we were told we can be, to be more than what we even think we can be. But how does that happen? How do you transition from going through life, maybe, in an abusive relationship or abusive family, or being bullied, or being told that you're never going to amount to anything, or that things that you want in life are just not realistic, being told this at a young age and believing it and believing these stories that you have? How do you overcome that so they don't overlay and impact your current reality as adults? See, there is a definition for this, and it's called superimposition. And basically, your personal life from when you were younger or previous experiences that allowed you to start creating stories of lack and limitational thoughts and beliefs have stopped you or actually sabotaged your current reality in certain situations. Where at some point, maybe you are dealing with a situation that is very similar to your past. A lot of times when I had to look at my own life, I was horrible at public speaking. I was terrified of public speaking. But when I thought about where that all came from, why am I so scared to stand up in front of people and speak? I looked deep down and I realized it was from me being that shy kid, that kid that really had a hard time fitting in with certain groups of people. Starting at a young age, and I've talked about this in one of my previous episodes, a lot of times the things that we deal with as children and even, growing into an adult life, those experiences will impact and start reoccurring in our mind when we deal with certain situations that are very relevant and similar to our current reality. So how do we overcome these stories? How do we change our belief system? How do we stop the cycle of when we deal with certain things in our present life, not allowing our inner child to intervene and sabotage what we are trying to accomplish, for our future? How do we do that? Well, the good news is we're going to break all that down in this video, and we're going to go through the step-by-step process of how to change your life, not allow your previous experiences and your previous stories and the previous emotions that may be negative to influence your current reality and to stop you from the future that you're trying to live. Okay, so what does superimposition look like in real life, like in current reality? So I already gave you my example of public speaking and where that kind of came from, and this kind of continues on, like our previous experiences that we've had either as a child or even in our adult life that were pretty detrimental, and we don't really realize it until we look deep down and identify that we have these thoughts, beliefs, and emotions really hinder who we can be right now. So let's say you're in a relationship and you just don't feel lovable. You don't feel worthy to be with the person you're with. And it's nothing they're really doing. You just kind of feel this way about yourself. This could stem from when you were a child and you just didn't get the attention or the love from your parents that you ultimately were seeking. Or maybe someone that you were with in a relationship told you this. Maybe an ex of yours told you that you're just not lovable and you're not worthy, and you heard it so much and you just started to believe it, and that became a new story and a new belief system that you have now. Another situation could be that you just feel like You're kind of downplaying your talents a little bit, or you have this goal or this dream in mind of something that you want to be. You just don't feel like you're ever going to get there. You don't feel like you have what it takes. You don't feel worthy enough, even though you want it so badly. You almost have that imposter syndrome, where even if you were to get it, you feel like you'd be exposed because you're just not as good as everybody thinks that you might be. Like, you feel like, man, even if I do accomplish this, like, I'm probably going to fail at it because I'm not as good as I think I am. Like, these particular thoughts and these stories stem from previous experiences. I mean, maybe when you were a child, they didn't mean to do this. They were just trying to, help out and keep you in check as far as realistic expectations in life. But maybe your parents told you, like, that is not realistic. Maybe you wanted to be a professional football player. Maybe you wanted to be an astronaut. Maybe you had this dream of something that was so large, and it kind of got, pinned down by something that a parent said to you. And parents are authority figures. So when you're a child, you really believe and take in everything that your parents tell you. Now, they tell you things to keep you safe. They don't tell you things to sabotage your future. But at the same time, you believe it so much that it becomes a new belief and a new story. So as you get older, even in other things in life that you're trying to accomplish, you still have this back-end feeling that it might be out of what you are capable of accomplishing. Even if it's a promotion at your current job and it feels like something that was so much bigger than you ever thought would ever happen to you, and it almost feels like, wow, this isn't supposed to happen to me. I'm not that good. My talents aren't enough for that. Even though you are, even though you can do it, you have this story and this belief system that is overlaying that the current reality of who you can become if you just change your beliefs and change the story from the past. And that's where superimposition can really sabotage who you can become, because you didn't deal with these emotions yet. You didn't deal with your past. You didn't deal with those stories that you have been believing this whole time. And when we talk about neuroplasticity is literally a rewiring of the mind. You just have to change your thoughts and your beliefs. And I talked about this in my previous video as well, where we were talking about life alignment, changing your thoughts and beliefs so you can take action towards something that can ultimately become what you desire as a purpose and something that you're supposed to do. Sometimes we hold ourselves back from getting the relationships that we want, getting the job that we ultimately desire, becoming the human being that we want to be, because we can't go past the thoughts and the beliefs that we currently have because of the stories that we've been told and we've been believing our entire lives. So it's time to change that. When you look at the story of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he overcame it at a huge level. But how did he do that? How was he able to overcome so much fear and so much doubt that he had been told his entire life, up to the point where he decided to make a change and stand up for a dream that he had, to fight for his people and to fight for the rights and equality? How did he do that? I mean, we look at our lives right now, and it is nothing in comparison to what he probably had to deal with and do to overcome those thoughts, to rise up to an occasion that was so much larger than him. How did he do it? Well, there's the story of the kitchen table moment. And the kitchen table moment is during the time of the Montgomery bus boycott. It was a 13-month protest that had been going on, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had been dealing with so much pressure and so many death threats that he got home and he was sitting at his kitchen table and he was just overwhelmed and he didn't know what to do. He wanted to make a change and he wanted to be this person that was able to rise up. He just didn't have the energy, and he had so much doubt and fear that was overwhelming to him that he finally kind of just broke down. He prayed to God at that moment. He said, God, I'm down here and I'm trying, but I got to confess, I'm weak at the moment. I want to do what's right, but I don't know if I can do it. I'm losing my courage. I'm faltering. I'm paraphrasing a little bit with what he said, but that was his prayer, because he knew at that point in time, like he wasn't going to be able to do it on his own. He had this dream, but there was so much going against him, so much fear that was still alive in his mind, that he didn't know how to deal with it to become the person that he needed to be to fulfill this dream that he had. But what's crazy is in that moment of surrender, in that moment of crying out to God and, being honest and just saying, God, I'm weak here. I'm trying, I'm faltering, I'm losing my courage. I don't know if I can do it. I need you. In that moment, his whole mentality changed. He said he could hear the voice of the Lord to fight on, and knowing that the Lord would never leave him. And in that time, in that moment, he felt a release, and he felt the fear starting to go away. That moment was the breaking of his overlay. That moment was the superimposition starting to recreate itself into one man having so much fear and doubt from how he was born into a world that was basically telling him to stay in his lane, and that he was never going to be anything more than who he was, to saying no more and releasing that fear and having trust and faith in God that he was going to be able to help him through this time to be able to rise up. And we know the story. We know the outcome. Dr. Martin Luther King fulfilled a dream that he had, and he was able to change the world forever. Another example is the story of Gideon from the book of Judges. See, the Midianites had been ravishing the Israelites for years. They had been, stealing and destroying their crops. They had been leaving families to starve. Basically, the Israelites had to sleep in caves because they were trying to hide from the Midianites and living in fear. And the story of Gideon takes place in a wine press where Gideon is basically threshing wheat. He's basically pushing the wheat down in these buckets and he's trying to hide it from the Midianites so they cannot steal it. Now, normally this act is done on a mountaintop in open air, but the story shows Gideon in a wine press, enclosed, living in fear, living small, living in lack. And what's interesting about this is it's portraying how Gideon sees himself as not worthy, as small, as someone who kind of lives in that fear state at all times. See, Gideon was still doing the right thing, trying to hide the wheat and threshing it down and trying to preserve the food so it didn't get stolen, but he was doing it wrong because he was doing it in an act of fear. This is kind of symbolic to how many of us live, doing the best we can in hidden places, living small, not allowing ourselves to rise up in certain situations, not allowing ourselves to really be present in moments where we could really stand out, shine. We just kind of play it small and live in our own little fear bubble just to stay in our comfort zone. And that is ultimately the last place you truly want to be, because if you stay in your comfort zone, you're never going to develop and you're never growing. You're never going to be able to see what potential you have in this life because you're never going to let yourself shine to that moment. So in the story of Gideon, the angel of the Lord comes down and says, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." And so Gideon's looking around. He's like, are you talking to me? Like, mighty warrior, like I don't have any armor on. I don't have an army around me. I mean, look at me. I don't look like a warrior. I don't act like a warrior. Like, are you sure you got the right guy? So Gideon's like, pardon me, my lord, but how can I save Israel? I mean, my clan is the weakest. Like, his people are the weakest, and he's like, I am the weakest of my family. Like, how do you expect me to save Israel? Well, there's Gideon's superimposed identity of how he sees himself. Not worthy enough, not strong enough, not confident enough, not enough to think that God could have trust in him and use him. But at that point in time, the Lord turned to him and said, go in the strength that you have. Am I not sending you? Basically saying, like, trust in me. Like, I don't need you to be ready. I just need you to trust me, because I see you for someone that is completely different from the person that you see yourself as. So obviously the transformation of Gideon doesn't happen overnight, but he starts trusting in faith of God. He starts asking for things. He gets signs, that God is with him and that God sees him as a different person than what he sees himself as. And the beautiful part of the story is, sure enough, Gideon defeats the Midianites with just 300 men. He ultimately rose to the occasion because he started to have faith in himself. He trusted God, and he trusted the way that God saw him for someone so much more, not small. A mighty warrior that Gideon just never saw by himself. He needed the eyes of God. He needed to have that viewpoint, looking at himself from a different lens to see the potential that he actually had. And sure enough, something that he thought was absolutely impossible, he was able to be that person to create a miracle in his eyes. To him, that was a miracle. Being able to, free Israel and defeat the Midianites is something that he never thought was ever possible, especially from him, but he did it. And I think this is a great story because all of us have the potential to be so much more. All of us have the potential to rise up. All of us have a gift and a skill that we were given, that we are meant to use, but we play small, we play hidden. We don't see ourselves for who we truly are and who we can be in this life. We are trapped by our thoughts and our beliefs, and it's time to release yourself from that. It's time to rise up. It's time to be more. It's time to follow your dream and become the person you need to be. So today's the day to say, I'm done. I'm ready to get outside my comfort zone. I'm ready to see myself for who God sees me as. I'm ready for this life that I truly want. And I keep thinking about it, but I never take action toward it because every time I think I'm ready and I go and I move in that direction, my thoughts and my beliefs just pull me right back. And if you get rid of those thoughts and beliefs, there's nothing to pull you back. You just keep taking action and moving forward. So the next thing you know, you're on track to the purpose that you have for this life, the purpose that ultimately fulfills you and makes you feel whole, the purpose that makes you feel happy, the purpose that makes you feel like you're never working because you're doing things that you love instead of forcing yourself to do things that you don't want to do. So start replacing the lens that you see yourself as right now. If you have these thoughts that are negative and these belief system that is holding you back, start writing them down. Write down what are my current beliefs, and be honest with yourself. Just kind of let it flow. Write down what do I truly believe about myself, and then as you write those down, observe them and then cross them out and write the new belief. Write the belief that is current, because that belief that you wrote down first is probably an old belief that is not allowed in your current reality. It is not allowed to be with you now if it is one that is holding you back and making you be small. Write those new beliefs and start speaking those new beliefs. If you need to read them off every single day and observe them, that's perfect, because repetition is absolutely key. That is how you rewire your mind. When you speak, words are very powerful, and what you say really resonates with what you start to believe. So observe those new thoughts, those positive thoughts, those that belief system that is accurate to who you know you can be in this life. And when you identify those, then start thinking to yourself, what does this person look like? This person I want to be, what would future me look like if you're trying to really make a change? Who is this person? Do they stand up tall, shoulders back? Are they confident? Are they not shy? Do they speak up in situations where normally they would back away? Like, what is this person like? Does this person take action and not live in fear? Does this person speak up, and help people even though they might get judged by doing so? Do they not care? Are they not a people pleaser? Are they not trying to conform to the patterns of this world, right? Romans 2:12, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So important, so vital to the process of becoming the new you. You can absolutely change, but you have to make the decision to. So I hope this resonates with you guys. I hope this video helps you. This is absolutely something that has changed my life dramatically. I am so blessed and so thankful that I've had the opportunity to learn these things and put them in practice and just see how my life can change and how my life can change so I can serve others with the right attitude, with the right message, with the right knowledge to really just make a difference in people's lives. And that's what this is all about. So I hope this video helps you guys. If any of you need help out there with any of this and you're looking for guidance and you're looking for someone who, non-judgment, just truly just cares and wants to help guide you to this new person you're supposed to be, into this new life that you absolutely want, reach out to me. That is my purpose and my passion as an alignment coach to help you do that. Put it in the comments. I'm ready. I will reach out and I'll be happy to help you. But I hope this video, really resonated with you guys and helped you out. And I'm so excited for what's in store for you in the future.